All right, Chris, has the 2024 season officially started yet? Because I'm not going to lie, there's so much stuff that's got to happen during this offseason. I'm kind of already ready to get through it. I'm ready to go ahead and just get to next season and see what happens.
I'm ready for the UFL because I had one Sunday without football and I lost it. Like what? What do you mean no football?
Gosh,
I want some
you're
football. I want to be something. I have something to be mad at and complain about after.
they might beat the Panthers, whoever the champion of the UFL is. Let's go ahead and get this sucker started.
The state of North Carolina covers 53,000 square miles. It is the habitat of the feared Carolina Panthers. Get dialed in, Panthers fans, for an in-depth look at your team, exclusive interviews, locker room insight. Let's huddle up for Panthers Playbook. Here are your hosts, Dennis Cox and Chris Lea.
Welcome back to Panthers Playbook. That's Chris Lea, Dennis Cox here with you. I know it's been a couple of weeks. By the way, on your UFL comment, can we have relegation? Will the Panthers drop down to the UFL if there is relegation?
Hey, listen, who was it that gave up their NFL contract to go? Was it AJ McCarron?
I
It
think
was,
so.
and because they wanted to go back and play, like this is a fine opportunity for the NFL and UFL to be like, hey, you could treat this like a D League or G League type of situation. DJ Johnson, go get some reps, buddy.
Yeah, you definitely need some reps.
Chandler
for sure.
Zavala, go get some reps.
Go get some reps. Those guys need it. That's for sure. Again, subscribe here on 99.9 The Fans YouTube page. Leave comments in the comments section down below. We're going to touch on Brian Burns and some other offseason decisions that need to be made regarding Burns, Frankie Luvu, Shaq Thompson. There are a lot of key pieces when it comes to the Carolina Panthers this offseason. But the first things first, we know that general manager Dan Morgan, Dave Canales, they have a history together, the head coach. But Dave Canales has fully assembled his coaching staff for this upcoming year. And we saw with Matt Rule, it was a bunch of college guys, very little NFL experience. With Frank Reich's staff, it was a whole bunch of NFL experience, but they weren't exactly all quote-unquote Frank's guys. They were just a bunch of guys cobbled together from different places. Now with Dave Canales, it's NFL guys who Dave Canales trusts and knows. A lot of guys that he worked with together in Seattle, some guys he worked with in Tampa Bay. But again, these are all his guys. That key word we saw, alignment, Chris. It seems like with the coaching staff, that's what they have.
A lot of this kind of goes back to David Tepper, right? Because it was David Tepper's suggestion and push that Frank Reich go out there and assemble the best staff. Doesn't matter if you have chemistry with them or not. Go out there and get all the hot shots, right? And then bring them in here. And by the way, part of those hot shots, I'm going to have them as locker room spies just for me, so I can build my evil empire as I bring running water to Charlotte.
Infrastructure.
Urban renewal. Let's go. So basically, what this shows me is that David Tepper has stepped back, and he pretty much said as much to Joe Person. If you remember when Canales was introduced, Joe Person put out a tweet that he went up to David Tepper and said, "Hey, are you talking sometime soon?" And he had a nice little grin on his face and said, "No, I'm in the background now." That is progress. And I hope that in the background also means that you're in the background on important decisions being made, kind of like this. So if he's letting Canales assemble his own staff, you're able to get the defense back, defensive staff back for the most part from last year. I would hope that everybody is a cohesive unit. There isn't any backstabbing, that everybody's on the same page. Everybody has the same ideas for Bryce Young, for offensive play calling, for just the scheme in general. Then we can move forward in one direction. And even if that one direction sucks, we are still all going in the same direction, which matters at the end of the day.
Which just being on the same page is a step in the right direction, even though it might not be the best page, but that's something that this team has not had in a long, long time when it comes to from owner, GM, head coach, quarterback, all the way down through. We have not seen that cohesion, that alignment in quite some time. So hopefully that is the first step. All right, everyone get on the same page, then you can start moving forward together, Chris. But one thing they have to figure out is really falls on the general manager, Dan Morgan, and the rest of the front office when it comes to contract negotiation. What are you going to do with Brian Burns this offseason? He's not going to hit the open market in my mind. Like, there's no way you're just going to all right, yeah, just go ahead, Brian, just go ahead and freely negotiate somewhere else. That would just be complete malpractice. But are you going to maybe do the exclusive franchise tag, non-exclusive franchise tag? Are you going to tag and trade Brian Burns? There's a rumor floating around that the Detroit Lions with pick number 29, who need an edge rusher opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, might be like, hey, we much rather use pick 29 on Brian Burns and sign that guy to have opposite of Hutchinson as opposed to just drafting somebody. I don't know. Like, that is a possibility out there. That's a major decision that the Carolina Panthers have to weigh this offseason. What are you doing with Brian Burns?
First off, if the Panthers do that, they are like, just, hey, Detroit, here's your Super Bowl. You're welcome. Because, man, that's wild. Him and Aiden Hutchinson on the same line will be pretty ridiculous. I think the way to go right here is the non-exclusive tag, kind of do what the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson last year and give teams an opportunity to come in and swoop in. And if not, then let's get this deal done, Brian Burns, and stay here, and if a team does want you, then we can at least get some type of compensation for you, so that we don't just lose this, amazing Pro Bowl caliber player, this player who has been to the Pro Bowl, and for absolutely nothing. But I think this is a great time to bring this up. A lot of folks, I think, in our country in general, on a higher level, we don't like to take into account how the past impacts the future. But in football, we love to bring up the context. So let's bring up the context with this. The past impacts right now because Scott Fitterer did not get a deal done in Brian Burns' fourth year when he probably should have got it done then.
Could have done it after his third year. He's had 2 off seasons to get it done.
Could have done it after his third year. You're absolutely correct. And then here's the other thing. The Panthers are very horrible, or have been horrible in the Scott Fitterer era of drafting and developing. Because do you think the Carolina Panthers will be in this tough position right now with Brian Burns if, let's say, Marquise Haynes was a little bit better and you had him under contract because he's a free agent? If Yetur Gross-Matos was a little bit better of a pass rusher, if DJ Johnson worked out a little bit better than a little bit more than what he actually worked out this past season, the Panthers really have no other pass rushing option behind Brian Burns that's currently on the roster and under contract for next year.
I mean, Amari Barno, who's a special teams guy. Like, that's it. That's it.
The Panthers currently have no other pass.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, this is where you are at right now, and a lot of it is because you're paying for the sins of the past. And so, Dan Morgan and Brant Tillis have a hill to climb right now. They've got to figure out this money. They got to figure out how to make him happy and figure out how to put him back, keep him on the team, and put this thing back together. And oh, by the way, you also have to sign Derrick Brown so you don't go through the same thing next year with him.
Yep.
Because that is coming up as well. So, I think that's probably the whole reason why you get Brant Tillis in here. And he was able to work magic with the Kansas City Chiefs, getting Patrick Mahomes his record deal, getting Chris Jones his deal last year to keep him on board. So let's hope that he can work his magic when it comes down to this, because the Panthers are currently paying for sins of their past. They haven't drafted and developed well. They haven't negotiated well. And you see the situation that we're in. And now it's going to take a miracle for Dan Morgan and Brant Tillis to fix this whole thing.
And I know you asked Dan Morgan the question at his introductory press conference, seeing Dave Canales, what makes him different than Scott Fitterer? Because remember, you talk about the hill that Morgan and Tillis need to climb to get this team out of the hole that they're in. Morgan's been here since Fitterer arrived.
Yeah.
Like, Morgan's been his right-hand man.
Yeah.
Like, so, like, he's part of them being at the bottom of this hill that they are right now. So that's something that maybe, again, Fitterer was the guy that was in charge, that was making all the calls, but still, like, that's something that still is in my mind. It's like, all right, how different are you going to be? Because Dan Morgan was in Seattle with Fitterer. He was here in Carolina with Fitterer. I don't know how different it's going to be. Time will tell on that one, Chris.
Here's something with that. And it's taken me a little bit to get to this, but I think I got to this place about a week and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing how excited so many former players are for the Carolina Panthers, with Dan Morgan being there. I don't think they would be excited. Like, at first I was like, of course they're excited. That's their guy, right?
Yeah.
But then I started thinking about it. They wouldn't be excited even if it was their guy, if they thought he was going to do a horrible job. They'd be like, hey, look, Tepper, like that's my dude and all. You can find a place for him. That's not the one. They know something. They know things that we don't know. They have their ear to the streets. They've talked to the players, the current players. They know what's going on inside of that organization, and they probably know Dan Morgan wanted guys that are currently on other rosters. They probably know that Dan Morgan wanted to keep guys around that weren't kept around. They probably know Dan Morgan would have signed this particular person a couple of years ago, but Scott Fitterer drug his feet on it. So if these former players like Jonathan Stewart and Thomas Davis Sr. and Mike Tolbert and Mike Rucker and all these other people, if they are this excited over it, I think that we have to give them a chance because there's something there to it. They know something we don't. So I just got there a week and a half ago. I was really skeptical at first, but can you blame me? Carolina Panthers make me skeptical.
Don't blame you, not in the slightest.
Can you blame me?
Don't blame you, not in the slightest. And you know what? I'm going to be skeptical until we see otherwise different.
Yeah,
I'm going to be skeptical until we see otherwise different because of the last 6 years. You're talking about, like, since Tepper arrived, 6 losing seasons. And if you count, this is going into year 7 of Tepper. If you count interim head coaches, this is also the 7th head coach. So yes, I'm going to be skeptical. People will leave thoughts in the comments section about how I'm too negative. I'm like, well, what's there to be excited about right now? I don't know. That's the thing. Like, there's no first round pick this upcoming year. This was one of, you can argue, if not the worst season in Carolina Panthers history. Like, if we're really arguing, it's like,
I still think 1-15 is probably worse.
Maybe, but at least you got Cam Newton the year after that. But anyway. But I don't know. Nonetheless, what we have seen recent, what Dan Morgan's been part of, has not been very good. And this upcoming offseason is vital because, okay, not only do you need to re-sign Brian Burns, but you need someone opposite of him. If you trade him away, now you have 2 holes. You have 2 problems to fix now. There's already a problem to fix opposite of Brian Burns. There's already a problem that you need to fill next to Derrick Brown in terms of the interior. If you lose Frankie Luvu, it's imperative that you keep Shaq Thompson because right now, if you don't keep both those guys, you're going to have a problem on the interior. You still need to figure out stuff on defensive back and corner because J.C. Horn can't stay healthy and Donte Jackson probably going to be gone this offseason. So there's like 2 holes you got to fill right there, 2 problems.
Probably going to be going with C.J. Henderson. I don't even know if you want him back.
Exactly. There's a reason why you didn't pick up his 5th-year option. So nonetheless, then you look at the offensive line, you got a bunch of holes and problems on the offensive line. I know there's the word floating around that maybe Trent Brown, the offensive lineman, the left tackle from New England, maybe the Carolina Panthers go after him as a free agent. Okay, which means you then move Ike Ekwonu into guard. That actually could be you improve at left tackle and you can improve at guard at the same time with one move. You can solve 2 problems with one move. If you can make that happen, then okay. But there are a lot of problems, a lot of holes that this Carolina Panthers team needs to fill. You still need a number 1 wide receiver. You still need a tight end. You have holes on the offensive line. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed, and you only have 6 draft picks this upcoming year. This rebuild, it starts now, but like we said at the beginning of the show, Chris, if everyone's on the same page, that's the only way you can move forward.
And I think this is one of the reasons why we say, be patient this year as well, because this is also going to be a down year. They just simply need time to rebuild. Mm-hmm. And I also think that this is a really good year for Dan Morgan and his crew to take a really good look at undrafted free agents for some of those fringe veteran guys who you might be number 54 on a roster this upcoming season, but you've had some good experience before, and maybe you can fill in spots and do some really good things. A person that comes to mind that they signed to a futures contract that should be healthy this upcoming season, if you decide to get rid of a running back, Tariq Cohen.
Yeah,
he could be good in spots for you, right? And maybe there are other guys out there floating around like that you can just kind of plug and play in different places. We didn't get a chance to talk about this, but Joe Person from the Athletic put out some potential cap related cuts that the Panthers could be doing, could potentially go after to, offer up some room so they have more room to sign Brian Burns, a few other people that they can possibly go after in free agency. And mostly everybody he listed, I am okay with losing. Donte Jackson.
Yep.
Donte Jackson. It will be a cap savings of almost $6 million. Ian Thomas, cap savings of $2.26 million.
Yep.
Terrace Marshall Jr., cap savings of $1.44 million. And a candidate for a restructure, Taylor Moton. And then possible surprise cuts, Miles Sanders and or Hayden Hurst. And I am
can
okay
see both
with
those guys.
all of that.
I can see both.
I am
those guys.
okay with all of that. Like there's literally not a lot of people in my mind that are safe on this current roster that I want to go forward with. And
you go 2-15, no one's safe.
You said what?
So you go 2-15, pretty much no one is safe.
It's pretty much Brian Burns, Derrick Brown. I want to see what JC Horn could possibly give me if he can give me a full healthy season. Of course, Bryce Young. I want to see what Icky can do at guard. Taylor Moton. And honestly, okay, I'm sorry. I can't forget about the dog, Adam Thielen. He's a dog.
Oh, yeah. That's it. That's
hold on. JJ Jansen, bring him back.
Oh, of course. Johnny Hecker, bring the guy back.
Hecker, bring him back. And I'm cool. I'm cool with Pinheiro. So we got 10. Bring back Sam Franklin. He's a free agent.
I love Sam Franklin.
I
love Sam Franklin. Amir Smith-Marset, he's not going to be expensive. Keep that guy around.
Bring him back. That's 12. We're at 12.
I'm cool with that guy.
So we're not so negative. We want 12 guys to be back.
Of 53. Well, there's going to be a lot of decisions regarding the 53-man roster this coming offseason, so make sure you stay locked in here on Panthers Playbook, whether it's here on 99.9 The Fans YouTube page or your favorite podcast platform. We're available there, Apple, Spotify, you name it. We're going to be available right there for you. But make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way, when we do drop episodes for you, you know exactly when they're going to be coming out. Also, we'll have stuff for you when draft time rolls around, free agency. Free agency, gosh, starts in 3 weeks, Chris? 4 weeks?
Yeah, it's coming.
It's pretty close. It's pretty
coming.
close. 4 weeks away. We have NFL free agency. A lot is going to happen between now and then. We don't know if some guys are going to get released before that point. Contract restructures. You never know what happens with. You might have a trade of Brian Burns.
I mean, by the time we're recording this, within the next 13 or so days, we should know probably the future of Brian Burns, if he's going to be if he's going to be tagged or not. And more than likely, we're going to come back with the emergency episode within that time because he'll be tagged. So
make sure you stay locked in. That's Chris. Dennis, y'all be good.